Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. This is going to be game 2 between White and Tossim. Tossim actually showing some strong PvP last match. He's starting as the light green, we'll call it, Protoss, bottom right hand corner. Bottom left hand corner we have the white Protoss, aka white. I guess I could just say white Protoss and leave it at that. This is going to be on Polestar, which has this symbol on it. The direction of the various rotations matter. It's actually called a manja in Korean, and I don't know precisely what it's symbolic of, but it is not symbolic of the same thing it is in other cultures, I will say. Anyway, Polestar, interesting. So it's worth looking up. I haven't found out precisely what it's symbolic of, but in a lot of Asian cultures, I believe it was associated with, well, definitely the Chinese writing system, but I thought for a bit Buddhism, but don't quote me on that, because I am not sure. I just know that reversed, it has other negative connotations. Anyway, eggs on the ramp. I feel like this map actually, more often than not in PvP, can end up with DT play, only because you have this ramp that's fairly easily blockable, and it's 4-player, which means you can put your opponent in the dark fairly easily. But you've got that. You've got a potential third here where it's kind of got the wide choke on the ramp right there, or another potential third at kind of a wider open ramp here at the 6 o'clock location. But this is it's a 3,000 gas there, where it's I guess it's 3,000 gas both locations. I thought it was a lower gas count on other locations. I kind of find it interesting where they're rather than having 5,000 gas at various spawns, they're just leaving it to the various corners here. Anyway, let me wow, messing that up. Let's get rid of the map reveals, so we're not seeming racist or anything. Looks like we have an initial scout upper right hand corner from White. Tossim also scouting top right. Looks like we do have a gateway gas right off the bat. Double gate for White. So while I was not paying attention to, while I was talking about map and Asian history and things, instead we got a 2-gate opener here from White, which we'll see if this ends up being the full Zealot dedication. What I do find interesting is one Zealot can block the ramp, although if the probe just kind of micros up, I think it can still see the edge and confirm the 2 gateways. White should know where to send these Zealots initially, although the first Zealot's going to have to be a bit delayed. As soon as he wanders up and finds this probe, the scouting probe making its way back out, he'll know which direction to go on the hunt here. But yeah, right now that Zealot going ahead and blockading. Well, I guess not. So he was going all the way in just to absolutely make sure. But he still got the scouting information he was looking for. Now the question is it just going to be the initial 3 Zealots? Kind of what I'm going to call the Bonneth 10 gate, where you just have the initial 3 Zealots make their way out and you drop the assimilator behind it? Or are we going to, looks like that might be the case, although we have a 4th Zealot that's queued up. The 4th Zealot's not going to be in time to blockade the ramp, however. In the meantime, we've got the initial Zealot holding the ramp here, the Dragoon on the way, the probe's making its way caddy corner to provide some additional DPS on the field. And the probe trying to be, doing a pretty good job from Tossim of being annoying out in the forward field. The Zealot make its way across. Actually, that's going to be a dead probe too. So a probe for a probe there in the front. The Zealots and the probe able to get, that surface area, and so able to sneak through. A shield battery actually dropped in the midst of this, and that's, I think, that was dropped well before. He had the probe scouting. He could have saw that there wasn't going to be any additional in the midst of this, but it looks like at least 1 Zealot has been wiped out. 2 probes are dead, and Tossim really dragging on the overall worker count, losing even further probes in the midst of this. These Zealots are just ignoring everything else. And this is also a good amount, nice little drill right there, but that's still a lot of delayed mining time. And at the end of, okay, the probe was wiped out as well. But now we've got a significant worker lead here for White. And the shield battery was dropped in the midst of this, and the shield battery was not part of that battle at all. Just did not provide anything. So White with a massive, massive lead of 5 workers. And so I want to qualify why this is massive at this stage. So it's kind of the snowball effect, where if you end up 1 or 2 workers ahead at this stage, not that big a deal. Did we see? Okay, we are seeing DT. Never mind. Cute little follow-up here. And I don't know that was scouted by White. I think it might have been. Okay, he's already got a forge, so I think he already scouted it. It's going to drop that Nexus, moving the rest of the troops out. As long as he gets a cannon or 2 with some support in the midst of this, he's going to be fine. The Dark Templar making its way out. I do believe the cannon will... This is actually going to be close. Does he have a cannon in the main? This might be a quick match. Oh man, the timing of this. 2 cannons, they're spread. Rest of these troops pressing their way forward. And that's not going to force the DT back. This first DT is getting here before that cannon finishes, before either of those cannon finishes, and it's going to be able to walk all the way into the main. So now White is going to have to evacuate, and he's not even aware of it. I don't think he's aware. He's pushing his way in. I don't think he's gotten the notification yet. Okay, there he's now. He has. Okay, now has recognized it, but he's going after the forward pylon. Going for the counterattack in the midst of this is going to get a pylon that's going to unpower. So we got no further DTs. This DT almost walking. A few actually were making their way back, but it's going to be a minute. This might be a dead Nexus at the main. This is turning in an interesting one. Gateway might get wiped out. White can get a lot of damage done otherwise. Forge getting dropped in the midst of this, and more worker damage. This is turning it into a wild one. All of the workers evacuating to the natural expansion that's not online as of yet. The DT getting some additional kills. Are the probes? I wonder if the probes just ended up on an early return. So now all of a sudden the worker count's even. White trying to get some additional damage done with the troops he's got in his opponent's base. Has lost a Dragoon. The Zealot's taking additional damage. This is another DT. More DTs getting queued up in the midst of this. Is there robotics? Finally a robotics. 4 cannons here at the natural and a robotics. White still ending up ahead as far as the worker count, but he's going to be down a Nexus, which is going to put him behind theoretically overall. Well, maybe down a Nexus. The DT getting a little bit distracted there. Does need to focus on the Nexus, and the question is how much additional damage is wrought in the meantime, because the DT needs to move. He's got 6. It needs to hurry up and start attacking. Go for the forge, go for the robotics, go for anything else out in the field. Starting to work on the gateway now. Robotics facility is finished. No observatory as of yet. No forward troops as of yet. 2 more DTs making their way across. That's not going to be sufficient to breach these additional cannons. Still no observatory, by the way. Oof. So the gateway going to take some additional, and now the observatory drop. And the DTs, what they can provide is just a little bit of support if White was trying to sneak additional troops out in the field. So basically total map control right now for Tossim. In fact, Tossim, if you wanted to be sneaky, what he could do is he could forego everything, just drop a 3rd Nexus and go buck wild from there. Observatory just finishes. Is this going to be a dead set? So we got a dead Nexus, a dead gateway, 2 bases up, although Tossim does need to, it looks like he's dropping additional gateways in the midst of this, does need to keep the workers rolling. It was down on troops, down on workers, I should say, briefly, has now managed to sneak ahead. I don't think he's going to get this Nexus. He's going to get this, or say this gateway. He's going to get the gateway low, but I don't think, well, maybe. I take it back. Man, DTs do a lot of damage. I thought that was going to be a lot further than it was, but the DT, if he focuses, still might get a gateway kill. Gets a 2nd gateway. Wow. So the gateway, that was one well-polished, well-honed blade of that Dark Templar. 9 kills overall, 2 gateways and a Nexus. That was a huge amount of damage. What a worthwhile investment. And Tossim running 3 gateways in the midst of this. He's got 2 High Templar. He's about to drop his 4th gateway. He's going to have Psystorm in not too long. And White is just now getting his 2nd Nexus back online. The problem for Tossim is he may not recognize. I think White's best scenario here is do the thing that I was suggesting Tossim potentially do with the map control, which is maybe grab the sneaky 3rd out in the field and just hope that his opponent doesn't. If you could see some Psystorm, honestly, if he just ran in with a couple Zealots as a distraction for the cannons and dropped 2 Psystorms at the close across this location, that would be game over right this second. Honestly, it's looking pretty close to game over anyway. We have a Dark Archon morphing. This is interesting. I'm curious what the Dark Archon's purpose in this match is, because White is nowhere near. Usually you'd want it for feedback versus High Templar, but he's nowhere near. Maybe he was thinking mind control. Yeah, he's upgraded in mind control. Interesting play from Tossim. I think Tossim's thinking, okay, White's one way back into this is in a shortfall space where he gets Reavers or something along those lines. Maybe I'm behind as far as robotics tech goes. So let me go ahead and upgrade Mind Control. If you Mind Control the shuttle, you get both Reavers on top of everything else. By the way, we do have a shuttle in the midst of this. We have counter DT. So this is going to be 4 Dark Templar. So now, okay, we do have a cannon and a cannon. Psystorm trying to pick Psystorm from Tossim trying to pick off that observer to deny information. Range gonna finish. That was a huge waste. I think Tossim recognizes he's in an overwhelmingly strong situation. Or maybe, and he's trying to hide that Dark Templar in the far corner. And the white has dropped that third Nexus, by the way, in the midst of this. And it looks like he's hoping to go for a 4 DT drop, potentially into the main. Additional gateways plop down. That cannon, so he's got to surround that cannon. He expended the Psystorm, and he's got no other detection. But if he moves this Dark Archon to the south right this second, he needs to do it now. He could potentially, he doesn't have enough energy. I was going to say, he could potentially mind control this shuttle. Tossim moving out with a sizable army. I don't know that White, he's got to get some more Dark Templar on his front to defend this. So queuing up the Dark Templar now. The DT are here. There's the, yeah, and he's got, wow, what a reversal of fortunes. 1 Dark Templar being left. This is a lot of territory. He's got to back off. There's cannons. Got to back off there. So no detection. Just go after that. Yeah, go after the Nexus. Now all of a sudden, reverse situation. Tossim sending a few Zealots a little bit too early. And now having to back off. The Dark Archon. How does the Dark Archon have 3 kills? What did I miss? Dark Archon able to kill something in the midst of this. Maybe was able to... Oh, it's because it morphed off DTs earlier and it keeps the kill count, is what it was in the midst of this. Forge getting wiped out, so no cannons on return, and now it's going to be free pickings. They're working on the gas right this second. They have to be very, very choosy, very, very choosy, and this is a good thing to select. Go after the pylons to depower these gateways, and then go after the Nexus. Very clever maneuver. We do have that 3rd gateway up, and White already transferring workers here. Bulk of the army's back. We have the robotics being dropped, the observatory. So an inverse situation of earlier in the map. Holy cow. The complete reversal. So Nexus gone. I would go after that Templar Archives next. Maybe the Cybernetics Core and the Templar Archives. Yeah. So Cybernetics Core being worked on in the midst of this. All of this depowered right this second. The observatory just finishing. I don't think they're going to have time to save the Templar Archives if he goes after that Templar Archives, and that's going to be a long period of time where Tossim is not going to have access to higher tier tech. Still getting a few troops out in the midst of this. This was so, and a bunch of DTs scattering on the front, doing all sorts of damage. The observer pops out. They're going to have to pull back. So where Tossim had the map control earlier, now all of a sudden White has a large degree of map control with just a single observer, although he's not doing a great job of spreading his DT out to maintain that map control. It looks like Tossim trying to grab that Nexus. Oh, so it's going to get spotted right there. Working on the gateways that are in the main, working on the gateways, but having this spread and this distraction and only the single observer out, this is buying a lot of time. Single observer here, but and the White actually has suddenly commandingly, hasn't just taken the lead, but he's up 20 workers all of a sudden on the shift here, has wiped out his 3 DTs, have taken out Cybernetics Core, Citadel of Adun. I don't know that Zealot leg speed was upgraded, Nexus, and it looks like he's at least going to get 2 gateways in the midst of this. So, kind of nuts. And the DTs, while that army was distracted without the observer, Tossim not being fully disciplined is going to end up losing more workers now. This is the Protossiest match I think I've casted in a long time. I don't want to say ever, because I've seen some pretty Protoss matches, but this is pretty Protoss right here. Is he going to get that Nexus? I think he might get the Nexus at the 9 o'clock as well. Incredible. Yeah, can just focus fire it down. So ends up losing the DT, but that's 2 so in turn, so lost, keep in mind, lost a Nexus, 2 gateways to start, was hobbled effectively. Now is up 20 supply, has double the worker count, has twice the Nexuses shortly, plural of Nexus apparently. Dark Archon trying to make its way across. Tossim still has a shot though. because he's going to go for an all-out assault on the front. White's army to the north. He has managed to get a large gateway count. I don't think the Caldarian Amulet, the Caldarian Amulet is not upgraded on these High Templars, so he's not going to have Psystorm for a minute. Catches the shuttle out of position, though, is going to be able to wipe that out. A slew of cannons shots across Zealot, able to at least get a kill right there, and Tossim withdrawing now that his army's been spotted on the forward front, and is going to find that large army to the north. Although, is he going to ask why there's a large army to the north right this second? Probe making its way out for White to go ahead and get some forward scouting in lieu of observers right this second. We have some Archons morphing in. +1 weapons, Finit? +1 weapons upgrading. I think that's going to be ahead. What do we... Trying to think of it at what we have on Tossim's side. Yeah, Tossim's just way behind what it comes down to. He's grabbing the Nexus again in his main. He's got that Archon that could go for a mind control, keep in mind. So that could be an X factor with a shuttle, although I think that's been spotted long ago by White. Honestly, I think the Dark Archon play was a bit of Tossim getting a little bit overconfident, and unfortunately paying for it now in the later stages with White with the turnaround. White engaging an army with Archons in the midst of this and taking some good damage. I believe feedback does fairly just wipes out Archons, if I recall, because it does. I think it does shield damage, right? I know it does the mana feedback damage on the High Templar. I'll have to look that up again, but I believe it blunts Archons as well. I can't recall off the top of my head. It's one of those things I should remember. It's just one of those like edge cases that it doesn't come up all that often. I think it is just flat mana. I'll have to look it up again. I think it's just flat mana into damage. But anyway, we'll come back to that. In the meantime, we've got a pylon upper right for White to block out what would be the top right expansion. He's going to grab yet another Nexus in the midst of this. Is he going to grab the 6 o'clock Nexus as well? How many gateways is he running off of? He's got he's got the full 10. I was going to say full 12, but this is actually just 10, it looks like. Is that right? Yeah, 8, 10. So 10, running 10 gateways versus his opponent's 5 right this moment. He can just keep remaxing and throwing. At this stage, he's got such a macro advantage, and I think he's got to know it, where he can just effectively just throw troops away. He just can throw troops at his opponent, continuously engage, and he will not be able to keep up macro-wise despite the distance here. A couple Reavers being built, shuttle speed being upgraded, but we have the pylons off to the corner just to scout. In fact, there is going to be some cannons. Some cannons are being morphed up there as well. At least the cannons will be easy pickings, but the shuttle wandering up there, and it's kind of like one of those the trombone moments, or sees the cannons, but at the very least going to get some monetary exchange in the form of the cannons being wiped out and the pylon being left. The shuttle going to go ahead and draw back, grab that Reaver, and unfortunately for Tossim as well, he's very boxed in. At least there isn't a lot of Psystorm. In fact, Psystorm hasn't been researched as of yet by White, maybe delaying it intentionally because of the Dark Archon, the potential of that Dark Archon. But Tossim at max supply, +1 weapons, +1 armor is finished. We have a Zealot running, 2 Zealots running across the map. I think he's gonna be disappointed to find a lot of gateways there. Is going to engage mid-map. The Reaver on the forward front getting some good shots on the Zealots at the very least for Tossim, but his army is not as well upgraded. It's in smaller numbers, and it's on a low ground engagement to the west, and just getting in, just wrapped all the way around, is just going to lose this entire army, and White can instantly resupply and attack, and this is as one of these bases should be mining out. Yeah, there's GG from Tossim. Looks like his main was starting to mine out. That was a wild one, and definitely, given the first 6 minutes, not what I was expecting, I will say. Huge turnaround. White staying alive. We're gonna go to game 3. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.